אם אני מאמין בהשם, אני מאמין בעצמי, אני מאמין בעצמי. אם אני מאמין בעצמי.
Hey, thanks for listening to Not for Heroes, a place to hear stories from Miluimnikim about home, the battlefield, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy.
אני לא מוותר על החיים. אם אני מאמין בעצמי, אני לא מתחרט על הלב שלי.
So, for this first episode, I sat down with Arky Staiman, a wonderful person. He's full of energy and life and optimism. Just an awesome person to be around. In Ezrachut, he is an excellent tour guide who you can follow at Israel with Arky. He hails from Toccoa, before that from Baltimore, and he's just a wonderful father and husband, and we'll get into all that. Arky and I met at Yeshiva in Otniel. Before that, he went to Leva Torah. But more importantly, Arky and I crossed a lot of paths this year because we're in the same chativa. We're in what's called Chativat HaSiyua, where we provide all sorts of combat aid. Arky's in Eitan Srika Itur Ne'edarim. Basically, his job is to search for lost and fallen. We crossed a lot of paths on October 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. We collected our equipment together. We were in Kfar Aza together. We spent a lot of downtime together, waiting time. And his presence has always provided me with a strength. So I knew that he'd be someone I would want to sit down with when I had this idea. And I called him around our Sevev Bet, our second round. I was in Toccoa and he was in Gilat, both places near the Gaza border, in between, missions. Our units were in the middle of operating in Jabalia. So I asked my mefaked if we had an hour, if I could take the time to sit down with him. So hopefully that explains the sound quality. Arky had just gotten back from a tour communicating his experiences to American Jews. And let's hear about that from Arky. Hopefully this encapsulates where we were and what we were feeling. So without further ado, take it away, Arky.
אני לא מתייאש מהסיכוי לאהבה, אני לא מוותר על החיים שלי.
I'm just trying to figure out, I started with myself. What did I learn from this experience, right? Like, what did I get out of this? What are the things that I want to take with me that and a lot of I've been making videos throughout the war.
Yeah.
So a lot of these videos are really just coming down to okay, Arky, what are you getting out of this experience?
Yeah.
What do you want to share with others? But also, what am I getting from my own self? And then it's okay, I'm learning all these life lessons, let's call it, and going through a lot of processing. And I've done so much work on myself since the war started that I'm like a different person. I'm going to take that, these things that I feel like I've changed. I was well, everybody can learn from this. It's not just me. Everybody can learn from this. And if it speaks to you, you take it upon yourself. And if it doesn't, you say, okay, that was Arky's experience.
Yeah, and I've found that, the reason I've connected to you, and I'm sure everyone does, is that you're still a gap bridger. I find that the gap, it's a canyon between the people that are here and in it and the people that aren't, even though they want the gap to be bridged.
Right.
I don't know how you managed to do that.
I think it's an emotional gap where people were we're feeling something so different than what you're feeling. I'm just talking about let's say Jews in America versus Jews in Israel. We're feeling something so different. We're feeling so much care, but such a disconnect of hopelessness.
Yeah.
And it was that coma of we're frozen. They were all froze. I think the Jewish community in America, if I can speak for them, even though I wasn't there, was in a place of what do we do? For the first few weeks. And I'm putting out these things hey, we're not walking around depressed, somber, just scrolling through terrible videos every day. Every single person here has doing something, you know, and we're happy. Like the soldiers, I remember the first few weeks, like the avira, the environment was very like uplifting. Okay, they need that too. you know what I mean?
They need permission to feel it. I've
Exactly.
heard you say that.
That's what it's actually interesting. I never thought of it like that until a couple of times when I was giving speeches in America, like rabbis would introduce me. They would talk about that Friday night video that I made. It was a video about like Kabbalah Shabbat. We'll go rock the house.
Yeah.
And that's the word that kept on coming. I was like, you're giving us permission to feel, to be okay, to be happy. And it's like that's what we needed. You know what I mean? And it's hard to upkeep that over 9 months, wherever we are.
Oh my
now.
gosh.
But that's kind of what I was doing, going to America and just trying to keep that feeling alive of like, let's keep those spirits up. You know, people are always asking me, how many hostages do you think are still alive? I said, I have no idea. But my answer is we have to be in a morale that's so high that even if they're not, we're still all in. You know, we're still 100% there.
Totally.
And that's kind of like what I'm trying to get to is like the morale of all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful for me. No, that's where I feel like I need the push in the morale.
Yeah.
Everyone does. But you're right that there is like a sense of like cooking in the unit. Like that's like what keeps flowing.
Yeah.
It's just like the laughter and the whatever that like only we could like,
Right.
but everyone should be let in on that.
Right.
That's
so
this idea.
I think also for us specifically, because we deal with, you know, we're search and rescue for fallen soldiers is the way I like to explain our mission.
Yeah.
And so since our mission, you know, is so depressing and sad, you see somebody like me or my unit who's seen so much, done so much, you know, we were there on October 7th, like, we're happy still. We're still people. Like we're okay. We're good. You know, I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
But at least in my experience and my team's experience, like we're still good. And I think for outsiders to see that, like, I know what you went through and I still see the smile on your face. Like, man,
I'm allowed. Yeah.
So it's the permission. It goes back to that permission.
Yeah. I think, it's crazy. We overlapped a lot. It was like, I didn't know that we were in the same khativa.
I had no idea.
It's funny. Like, I didn't really even understand the structure of my miluim service.
I still remember swimming. But you're like, I'm in the same khativa. I'm answering whatever. I'm like, yes, South is Jewish morning. They're like, which is what? I'm like, I don't know. I can explain to you what I do. I can't explain to you how it fit in the bigger picture.
Totally.
I know we're in the same khativa.
No, and it's also shocking also like that we ended up here. That's what shocks me.
What do you
I was in Shmona Amot Tishim in Tzanchanim.
Right.
So you
Right. Yeah.
What was your gius?
Merz Chatzli.
3 years ago, Army.
Yeah.
And I had first of all, I don't think I even knew a unit like this existed. I mean, I'm in Yeshot, which is Shinua B'Tnuah. It's like, we do convoys. You're search and rescue. We've worked together.
I think most people who get to Miluim and are not doing exactly what they were doing before had no idea how much, I had no idea how much goes into war.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, that
was
was logistics. And like everybody always asked me the question, the kids, whenever I went to speak to schools, how many people did you kill? I'm like, do you know how many soldiers, combat soldiers, whose job it is in the army is not to kill people? I don't know the percentages, but it's a high percentage. We don't think about that stuff.
Totally. No, not at all. Did you ever wish you were in a different unit?
Interesting question. Not because of the work that we did, sometimes because of the lack of work, right? Like, because sometimes you feel like you're sitting and you want to be giving more. And
totally.
I hate to use this phrase over and over and over again, but this is also something that I talked about and I still talk about, which is everybody feels like they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Like I still am in the room in front of 500 Americans. I asked them, how many of you feel like you've done enough? Nobody's going to answer their hand.
Oh my God.
But if I stood in the same room with 500 elite Duf Devon soldiers who have done the most insane, missions, they also wouldn't raise their hand. You know what I mean? We all feel like we're not doing enough. So like there's this FOMO in my head. Like if I was somewhere else, I'd be doing more. But I think that's all in my head.
Yeah. I think the word enough, the hard word, feel like you're enough.
Right.
Doing enough. I am enough. I'm good enough dad. I'm good enough partner.
Right.
Possible.
It's not healthy because then you're striving for something that doesn't exist.
Totally.
Right. Because you're like, I haven't done enough, but you'll never do enough. So like, what exactly are you looking for? I'll never forget when the heart, literally, I mean, you know what I saw and what we did. And the hardest thing that happened to me was we started a mission and at the border, they're like, Arky, we need your spot on the Hummer. And they kicked me off the Hummer. I like the Otis guys took over and then just went in.
That is hard.
And I just stood there like crushed.
You feel useless.
Like I was
Dude, I
like,
really know that.
and I was so pumped to get, this was before any of our missions were inside of Gaza. So this was the first mission we were supposed to do.
Literally itching to do something.
I'm itching to do something. It's early, and I'm like, we're like singing, songs on the way down, and boom, Arky, we need your spot. Crushed by that. And that's the feeling of like, I'm not doing enough, you know what I mean? And then I had to come to the realization that, and this is, I call it the goalie effect, right? Like
were you a goalie?
I was a goalie in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. The goalie effect is like this, right? You're sitting there as a goalie and you don't want to work, right? Because if you're working, that means that the team's not doing well, right? But we also don't understand they're doing nothing. That's the truth. That's how we feel.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
So yes, sir, like we only work when something bad happens.
Totally.
But we're still itching to like do, And that's when the missions with hostages start really, really important. Like we would start taking out fallen hostages from the different battlefields. And it was like, that was a whole nother feeling because it wasn't because disaster struck, meaning disaster struck a long time ago. Does that make sense? Like there wasn't this feeling of like,
the problem already
exists
and now I want to jump to do it.
Exactly.
By the way, you gave me a paradigm shift. I can't
I'm
you realize how
listening.
much you affected me.
I'm listening.
I mean, we could also dive into all the times we overlapped, but one of the days in Kfar
Yeah.
And I was kind of like in the mindset of like, okay, my job right now is Avtacha. I'm securing.
Right.
And it was, but in addition, like there was work to do. There was mitzvahs to be done. And that's what you said to me.
Did I?
It's a mitzvah. You said, I was like kind of nervous. I was like, what? There's bodies and I'm scared. And you were like, it's a mitzvah. I'm running to it. Something like that. So you said to me, it's
I feel like
shifted my mindset.
Sounds like something I would say.
Mitzvah.
Yeah.
It's a huge, I'm really grateful I was there. And I'm like, there's so many like layers, like different moments that went into like bringing me there. And like, even though it was horrible, it was also, I'm really grateful I was there.
We were supposed to be there. You know what I mean? Like we were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
I like to say my line is I've done more mitzvot in the last 7 months than I have my entire life combined.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just everything, between, thank God, having a platform to inspire people and the actual work that we do. So
yeah,
it's a fulfilling feeling. And I think this is, again, one of the things that my motto right now is a lot of people will talk to soldiers and they'll focus on how are you negatively impacted by this?
Yeah.
How do you sleep at night? How do you this? How do you that? Did your friends die? Da, da, da. It's like, those are important because we're all affected negatively by the war, but nobody's asking like, what were your greatest accomplishments? Like, what's the moment that you're most proud of?
What one is your moment?
So I have a few, but every soldier needs to be asked. And we did this during processing at the end of 7th Aleph. They gave us a timeline. They gave us green stickers and red stickers. You did that? Yeah. So I learned a lot from that, which is like, there are green stickers that you should be proud of, that you need to take with you. And like every soldier has that deep inside, but like nobody's bringing it out of them.
Yeah.
Everybody's asking them like, how did this screw you over? Like, how are you messed up from this? Like, how did this build you?
Totally.
Who are you? How are you different because of this? What were the moments that like you impressed yourself?
That goes back to the permission thing. I think even us, we're scared to feel permission to feel proud or like accomplished or good about something because it's such a hard time.
Maybe. I think we're just not accessing it.
Yeah.
I think it's so deep inside. It's so me. I have a few moments. I think one of the moments was in Kfar Aza when like everybody else was kind of losing it at the end of the day and like they had enough and it was physically difficult and everything. And I just like, I was so zoned in. I was so dialed in and I became like a different person and I just picked up stretchers and I kept on going and I didn't, until the moment we left Kfar Aza, I took breaks, but I didn't stop. You know what I mean? I didn't stop. I was so zoned in. Another moment was we had this mission in Khan Yunis where we were digging up bodies in a cemetery to try and bring back fallen hostages. And it was such a crazy mission because it was not an area that was safe at all. And they were just like, there was birds flying over our heads. There were tanks shooting next to us. Like, it was a real battle. And our job was just to look down. like, imagine we had stick lights on our head so that we wouldn't have any friendly fire. No, straight up like glow sticks.
So your position is totally
Exactly, and those buildings surrounding us that are still like torn,
you're not sure what the
Hamas.
deal is.
I know what the deal is, and I know it's not good. So what happened was the tank opened up the back of the tank, and there's just total chaos around it. I just remember, like, I don't think I raised my head from looking down, doing what I had to do for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Like, including like tanks firing shells over our head, you know what I mean? Like, there's fireworks going on,
Wow.
and any of the bullets could go into you, but like, I just remember just being super, and for me, ADHD Arky, to focus on anything was like a big deal, but we were so dialed in, and
Wow.
I go back and I say, like, the best Arky showed up that night.
That's amazing.
And I'm proud of myself for that.
You should be. That's awesome.
Everybody should be. It's
Like,
amazing.
Happy about that. But
I always say, like, with my tourists, right? Like, a lot of times I'll take families and the kids will come to Israel and they'll like change. Like, the parents will describe their kids. They're like, oh, they hate history. They don't like hiking. They don't like this. They don't like that. And they'll come to Israel and they're like, the parents discover a whole new child.
yeah.
And I feel like we're also, like, in a way, we were able to discover parts of us that either we didn't know what we had or we didn't have.
Totally. No, dude, I like grow up. I grew up with like all the stories of the 16th War and the,
Yeah.
you know,
And now it's up to us.
the Yom Kippur. Yeah, and it's just like I don't think I ever really thought it was reality,
Right.
but I was always inspired by those stories.
Right.
And then now it's really there.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know. What? How is your like perception of has your Zionism changed? Do you feel?
Has my Zionism changed? I think my
Your relationship towards the army or
my relationship towards, I wouldn't say Zionism or Israel has changed, because I've always been like, not always, but ever since I grew up yeshivish. I didn't grow up, there was no Israel flag in our house, like
Wow.
none of that.
your parents weren't Zionists?
My parents love Israel and loved Israel, but like, they were yeshivish.
Yeah,
There's
it's not
no,
like this thing on the hilltops that's far away. It's
yeah, we went for my bar mitzvah. There's kfarim, there's holy places, there's the Kota, but there was no like Israel flag, not much talk about army or anything like that.
Wow.
So I discovered that on my own, and
What number are you of the siblings?
I'm second and last.
Oh, you're
So
two. You guys
we're just,
You've
it's
one
just me
older
and
brother?
my older brother, yeah,
okay.
who also ended up in Tisha Mishmona during this war, which
You're
is
kidding.
fascinating.
Wait,
Yeah.
so he went to the army before you?
He went to the army before me. He was job make for 6 months in a Sefer L'Selavia. He taught English.
Okay. Do you feel like that? It's like kind of shaped your feelings about the army, or
You know,
what
was it
introduced
before
you
me?
to it?
I don't know. It wasn't before me. I went in the army.
Okay.
I did the army.
So you were the boy.
We were there at the same time. We have a picture of us in Machane Natan in Beersheba, both in uniform. We were both there at the same time.
Wait, so what sparked it? What was it?
Trips to Israel. Came here for my bar mitzvah. Saw soldiers. Came from Machach. Saw soldiers.
It's
Just
the
every
coolest
time
thing
I was
ever.
just like mind blown, you know.
Yeah.
And part of my trip to Israel was my trip to America. This past month, I went to a lot of the high schools, a lot of the middle schools, and talked about that journey from being a kid just like them,
Wow.
with crappy Hebrew, just like them, with like no particular like wow, obsession with Israel, to this kid who was like, yeah, I'm going to do the army. Like,
Yeah.
nobody was.
How'd you end up at O'Neill? That's where we met.
Yeah, so I went to Riva Torah for a year, and I loved it, but I wanted a Hesder Yeshiva. I wanted to go all in. And
Okay.
Rav Yair was there, and so I went all in,
That's the best.
Exactly.
God, that was-
It was really like jumping in the deep end. And the truth is, I look back and I was like, it was intense. I didn't know what was going on for 8 months. You know what I mean? I had no clue.
Did you go in? So you did Tzachani, the Gibush Tzanchanim.
Yeah.
Did you ever want anything more? Sayera?
Looking back, I probably would have.
That's interesting.
Would have done something more, but now, but at the time, I just wanted to stay in Hesder. I didn't want to do it for
Okay.
years. I don't want to.
Did you have a good group of guys who chose to do Tzanchanim from the yeshiva?
Yes, but a lot of them ended up in Sayarot. So like,
Oh, interesting.
I actually only ended up with like one guy from yeshiva. My good friends from the army are not guys I
You
went to
met from
yeshiva with.
scratch.
Yeah,
Cool.
it was, and now they're here with me in Miluim. So that's
Oh,
good.
you all ended up. You all.
Not all, but there's a 5-6 core guys
Okay.
that I'm with. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy the like journey you've all been on. And what's so okay? So has your relationship to like did
So
you ever believe war was possible?
So I don't know. I never really thought about it too much. Like I always talked about it as if it was ancient history, right? You talk about these like multi-front wars that they try to wipe us off the map of
Yeah.
like the world. We're there.
When the buff you train for it, like don't you remember like you have to memorize all the what column and you remember like the story.
I never did any of that,
No,
dude.
but, like-
I'm sure I had to, but
There was
I
some
was-
sort of like fantasy that like I don't know. When you're starting a hill and shooting. What was your pecan?
negative.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, good times.
You're
Did they give you a negative now? No.
No. Well, that's because I was a mythic Hover.
Uh,
I'll grab a negative if
we
we
have
have a negative
Pocahontas,
if he's
though. We
out.
have Pocahontas.
Yeah.
So
That's a
we,
whole different
we don't have
question.
Pocahontas. Yeah, we just have our regular. I mean, we're doing other things.
You have a cavet. No, at least you have a cavet.
I'm not
Oh, you're like me, bear.
just like
bones.
you, just like you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm 16.
That's a whole different question. But like that, now I was also going to get
Doesn't
to that. Like,
bother me, yeah.
doesn't matter. Like in terms of your faith in the system and how much the system supports you back for as much as you want to give.
Listen, when I got there on October 7th, I expected there to be like nothing for us. Like, you have all these stories of they didn't have enough guns. We Yom Kippur War and didn't have helmets for everybody, no food for anybody. It's like the fact that we got there and every single person got the equipment necessary to
Yeah.
fight in a relatively Misudar way. I was actually really impressed.
Yeah.
Very fun. Not getting the best stuff. You love getting there. Ninja with all fun. Damn. Ronola. It's not
Yeah.
the biggest deal in the world. So I felt,
Yeah.
I don't feel, there's always been like I don't understand the big army thing. But this has been a situation where I feel like we were properly prepared,
Yeah.
I would say.
I would say we probably feel similarly. Like when certain people talk negatively about the army's ability to supply equipment, I always felt weird being like a beggar. Like,
Yeah.
oh, b'vakasha, we need
Yeah.
like we have like people
Yeah.
always say, "Do everything?" I'm like, I answer, we have.
We have everything.
Like, I want the people to feel
Absolutely right.
Like,
And then we're doing a disservice. Soldiers, they get up there. We don't have this. We don't have that.
I'm with you.
It's a problem. And
There are problems, and there's tons of problems, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And- yeah.
So
But I'm with you. But I'm
yeah, I actually brought that up on my speeches because I think a lot of Americans are confused by that. Like, why is the army not giving you helmets? Why is the army not giving you bulletproof vests?
yeah.
The army's giving us, this is only my experience. I'm sure there are people who've had worse experience in different experiences, and the army is a big place, and I can only talk about our specific place in the army. We had everything that we needed. Was it the best stuff? No. Was it the most updated stuff? No. Is it better to have good stuff? This is another part. It's like, by you giving us better stuff and donating better stuff, it makes our ability to fight better. It
Yeah.
really does. It could save lives. But it's not because the army's not giving it to us. It's because we want the best.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. Wait, so back to the buff. So you were a negative. We didn't believe there was war. I'm with you. Like, I think it was kind of like it was playing.
I kind of wanted it in a way.
Totally.
I kind of wanted it. Like after when
Where
with
you
Kadam,
see
like,
guns.
okay, now where do I, which war, who am I fighting?
Yeah. Where'd you do Cov? Where was your?
We were in Hebron
Oh, nice.
and we were in Lebanon, on the border of Lebanon. That was it. This was a very quiet service.
Yeah.
Very quiet service. And the truth is that there was again that feeling of like, I didn't do enough.
Wow.
I didn't.
Interesting.
What did I do? Okay, I got some rocks thrown at me. Like that's what I did in the army. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting.
And then around the war, opened up that world of like, okay, now you can't say you haven't done real stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a part of me, it goes back to the goalie. There's a part of me that like wants to be a part,
Yeah.
and a part of me that's like, okay,
If they need
it's war. You still can get hurt, and you have a family and kids. But I think we were born for this. You know what I mean? You're not born to fight. And I think like we've directed our lives in a certain way that said that if we're needed by the state of Israel and by the people of Israel, we're willing to put our lives on the line, lives on the line.
Yeah.
So then when the day came, it wasn't like,
It wasn't a question.
there was no question. There was no
Yeah.
question. And there was also no like sadness about it either.
Totally.
It was like, and then every mission, we're in the Hummer and you look around, you see a bunch of people who want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
1,000,000%. Was there a point that you were like most scared, most like, whoa, what am I doing here?
It's interesting. I didn't feel fear.
Wow.
I didn't feel fear. And we had scary moments. I didn't feel fear.
Okay, good.
And I go back to that, like, fulfilling your tafkid sort of approach,
Fulfilling
which is
feeling,
like,
yeah.
you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Cool.
So sacrifice is just a part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like I felt more scared for my family than for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt scared that the relationships would change. I felt scared that I would come back and people would see a different I feel like I was scared that I would change.
Wow.
I was scared that my personality wouldn't be the same, and maybe, like, I'm a fun guy. I like to have fun and jokes and be positive. Like, maybe now I'm gonna walk around depressed. You know what I mean? That was the fear.
Totally. I relate to that.
The not physical harm fear or anything like that.
Has your personality changed?
Fancy you ask. Fancy you
What about
ask.
Arky?
I matured. I definitely matured. I don't know how much the maturity is just I've been working on myself. Like, I started therapy since the war. I went to retreats down south in the desert, 3 days without phones, ice baths, yoga, breath works. I've been starting to do breath work and stuff. So my relationship with myself has changed.
Okay.
And I think that changed my personality. It's not what I went through, it's how I'm dealing with what I went through.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Totally.
So now
that
that
doesn't sound like for the worst, by the way. You're intentional, you're mindful, you're working on yourself.
Absolutely. And it's a maturity.
Yeah.
It's a maturity. So, like, previous Arky just, like, went through life and handled the curveballs, and, like, now it's much more mindful.
Wait, was it like a similar trajectory, like your relationship with your wife, kids changed in that way?
Huge.
Like a maturity.
Huge. A maturity. I don't know about kids because they're young.
Yeah.
Going through this has been hard for them, but
Totally.
but basically between round 1 and chapter 2, as we call it, we had like 2 months where I worked a lot, and I went to America, and we went through some crazy things. But, like, we also put our rebuilding our relationship as, like, a priority.
Wow, good for you.
Huge. It was huge.
Good for you.
And we needed it because there was an imbalance there. Nobody talks about that stuff, but, like, if your home front isn't quiet and peaceful,
you can't do anything.
Nothing.
Like 1 inch. You can't do 1 inch for it.
Yeah. And when people ask me, how can I help the soldiers? Like, go do a barbecue for the wives. Go give the kids, go give the kids a day.
Get on Walt and send a Walt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's been a
your community has been awesome.
really sweet single woman who has been cooking for my wife and kids.
Wow.
And when I went around America, I'd be like, how do you help? Look, here she is. Here's Giselle,
Nice.
That's the truth. That's the
She's
truth.
been helping all the families at the car.
Yeah.
A lot of Midway families at the car.
I think we're at like 80.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot.
That's yeah.
Yeah. At this point during the war. In the beginning, it was a lot. You have to realize that Tekoa also has people in Nagmal. So that means that there are people who are protecting Tekoa who live in Tekoa.
Yeah.
So those people, once the war started, if they didn't have Miluim, they volunteered.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Yaron, Yaron, and all the guys, all the Americans, they basically were like, well, I'm not sitting here doing nothing when there's a war. And so they volunteered to protect Tekoa.
Yeah.
Their experience is so different than ours, though. It's so different.
That's true.
They're sleeping at home at night. They have this weird balance where they're in the army, but they're also at home.
Yeah.
Their work asks things from them because around their home. Like, here, it's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah. And I don't envy their position.
No, it's complicated. It's more complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've kind of been in that position the past couple of weeks, like barely come back to the second chapter.
Yeah. When did you guys start?
Started again, Pesach.
Yeah, same.
Oh, yeah. We're in the
Makes
same
sense.
vibe. One day we're going to understand it.
But so I got drafted, and then a week later left for America.
Oh, okay.
Because I had this trip planned.
Good for you.
And I said to my commander, I said, if you really need me, I'll stay. But this is a big deal. And I left.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So things are going to get done. Like, we've been on this like rotational, like on and off service, which has been challenging just to have no predictability, but it hasn't been, it's not like taxing like those first few weeks where you're not out for first few weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
About that stuff, like,
Yeah.
how have you managed? It's funny. I actually remember we had a talk about it because we were in
Yeah.
the school, and there were days
The
that
volleyball.
volleyball.
The volleyball. I missed that volleyball.
You still have that picture of you?
Yes.
That Jordan.
The shit was
Awesome.
just
There's just, yeah, that's a dissonance for me. 'Cause I feel weird telling people like, yeah, there's hostages, there's war, people are dying, and like I'm playing volleyball. And like, what else are you supposed? And back to the FOMO, like we felt the FOMO to not do more. But on the other hand, like, what the hell else are we supposed to do? Like, we're literally waiting every second they can call us, and you go faster than us because there could be some sort of search and rescue mission.
right.
For us, it's usually convoy missions that
Right.
get to go deep, go
Mm.
send bombs, send whatever. But so how did you like so that was our debate. I said I'm afraid to tell my home about that stuff. I was like, didn't want, she's like struggling and I'm playing volleyball, but you like, I tell everything. I really
Everything.
respected that.
Yeah.
How did you come to that? And have you done it from day one, from October 7th?
We've always been like that. That's our relationship.
Oh,
Always been like that. And when I go off to Milium for training, I tell her what's going on.
yeah.
We've always been like that. So on October 7th, a couple of months beforehand, we had a training mission where somebody came and talked to us about the mental health aspect.
Wow.
And somehow it came up like to like do some kind of audio journal, just like talk
Cool.
into your phone. So I actually have recorded every day where we had a mission, recorded everything that we did with how I felt and what it was like. And the entire war essentially audio journaled onto my phone.
Wow.
And it was very clear to me that like I wanted everybody who cared about me to hear it, whoever could handle it. You know what I mean? So it was very clear. Yeah. My wife knew everything that we were doing, and also like for her to get to know what I'm going through so that when I come home, she gets a better idea of like, who is this Arky that's coming home? Is it going to be like upset that he didn't do more? Has he been having fun playing volleyballs? And make sure both, is he in shape? Is he out of shape? Is he feeling good about himself? Is he not feeling good about himself? No reason to come home as a surprise, right?
Totally.
So I think that was part of it. We've always been like that. We'll continue to be like that.
That's awesome. I remember one
Full
of the
disclosure.
challenges being like bridging that gap between the two different experiences we've had. Because also your wife's been through something like
Yeah.
doing everything alone, having the worry, the anxiety,
It's insane.
the managing
Yeah.
kids' emotions with this whole new world of the court. Do you have any as a court?
We had a few as a coach, and
Yeah.
and in the beginning, they weren't letting people out of the yeshuv.
Wow.
You couldn't go out of the yeshuv, couldn't come back in
For how
for
long? Whoa.
where it wasn't clear that it was safe to drive on the roads. It wasn't clear whether they would be doing the same thing to us. I started locking the door for the first time. We never locked the door.
You don't like the door in your
Yes,
city?
to God, you know,
Oh.
it's a yeshiv. You know,
What a
like,
blessing. I've never even
That's
thought
like-
of a life like
Yeah,
that.
that's why people choose to go that kind of living. It's like we don't lock our cars. You know, everybody knows each
Okay.
other, and then it's like, okay, are the Arabs planning the same thing around
Yeah.
us, right? So that was a real fear
Good.
in the beginning, and there was a total disconnect between what she went through and what I was going through. I had to focus on
Well, it's not wrong. It's just
what I had to
reality.
do, but at a certain point that blew up because there's only so much the two people who are usually on the exact same page, who are living completely separate lives, can do it, right? Like we're a family, we're a unit. And here I am like focusing on me, just me, and what I have
Yeah.
to do in the war. And like there was zero recognition of what was going on over there. I say, oh, I'm so sorry, that sucks. That sounds really hard. But you know, I wasn't really understanding what was going on there.
totally.
And so that's part of what I'm saying is that to have evolved and have bet, like we worked on our relationship a ton.
Wow.
Had to.
Good for you.
That's
Do
it.
you have any feelings about how she communicated to your kids what was going on? 'Cause you weren't there to do that.
That was her job. Her job became like forget about me. Forget about she couldn't watch any of the videos. She couldn't care even about like amidst. She just cared about the family and the house. And like it was her job to teach the kids about what was going on. It's the same approach we have for each other, we have with the kids. It's full disclosure with the kids.
Wow.
My 6-year-old daughter knows what I do.
Wow.
She knows what I do in the army. She knows that I bring back soldiers who are no longer alive. Like
Wow.
she knows that. And she has questions about it and she wants to know, but like it's important. It's
Yeah.
important. So me and my wife kind of like talked about it, but really it was her free reign, like her house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was part of the difficulties of coming back after.
Oh, I Totally.
It's not your house. You know what I mean?
Oh my
It's
God.
not your rules. It's like, mierda this route.
Mamash. You're not used to that division of labor. Now
Yeah.
it's like, where's my place?
Right.
And she's not used to having you there.
No, she's not. She was able to do it by herself. And now you're coming in. It's like, where am I in all this?
Totally. Wow.
Right?
So that's also part of your working on a relationship.
Huge part of it. What's your role now in the family? And I have a 4-year-old who very much disconnected from me in the war. Very much disconnected. You know, just like took big steps back for me during the war. And that's just something that I had to deal with. It was like,
hard.
yeah, Abba's not there for me all the time. So
No.
now I can't rely on him.
That's hard.
You know? Or my 2-year-old who points to the phone and goes, Abba, Abba. We're from the soldier, right?
Mamash. The war-life balance.
My 4-year-old used to ask my wife, he says, why do we need Abba? I kept on asking, why do we need Abba? It's like,
Is that painful?
no, you know, he's got language issues.
Okay.
And I think he's trying to say, like, why does the army need Abba?
Oh, okay.
I think. But I don't really know. Like, he's saying to her, why do we need Abba? It's just like, we love Abba. He's like, he's just not understanding. Like, he's here, he's not here.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Mamash hard. How did you like take the whole how did they communicate? First of all, when did you get out? When was it first? When did that end? We finished in early February.
Pesach. And then, right, February. Same time.
And then you said also Pesach. How did you take it when they told you? When your mefaked said, "Takshivo, we're going back. It's Pesach time. We got to be called
I
back."
think we knew that. I think it was something that like we kind of knew that something was happening.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. We kind of knew. It sucked because my in-laws were home and they were home also. They were in our house on October 7th also. So like that created also different like relationship balances between my mother-in-law and my wife and whatever. But I knew that I had this America trip. So my initial reaction was, what do I do?
Okay.
What do I do? Do I now contact 50 shuls and schools and say I'm not coming?
Right.
Or am I going to be sitting on my tuchus for 2 months saying, why am I not changing the world?
Yeah.
And instead I'm sitting on my butt in Ofakim. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So I said to myself, let's see what this looks like. And I took about a week to like really figure out like, what are we going to be doing? And I realized based off of like the rotations, I would only be like 1 or 2 weeks actually involved during the month that I'm gone anyways. And I'll come right back.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was my decision. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah.
And then while I was gone, our unit brought back seven fallen hostages. I don't know if you remember that week. The week before they got the live hostages,
but you were part of the.
It was like 7. It wasn't just like my room. It was like 7.
Yeah, it could have been you.
I'm sitting there in America in West Hampstead talking about how my guys are bringing back hostages.
Okay.
It was crazy.
So
I don't regret it though.
The goalie, you don't regret it, but in the goalie mindset, you're kind of like, shoot.
I told every single person before I left, I said, I'm going on one condition that you do nothing cool while I'm gone. Nothing cool while I'm gone.
That always happens. We had one guy also who like had to go for a weekend. It was like the first time we did like thick commission.
Exactly. But I think that goes back to this idea of like everybody wants to be involved. Yeah. Everybody wants to do more.
Totally. Has that ever have you ever thought that mindset of wanting to do more, like the choter mindset?
Yeah.
Do you ever think that had its downside? Sometimes our guys were worried, like the Magad is like aspiring for more than we're capable.
So for sure, our Mempe, our Mefaked Plugad is the same thing. He's always trying to do more, but that's the reason we were in Kfar Aza.
Right.
That was not our mission.
Yeah.
Like, we went down there just to like,
and I'm grateful for that.
Lend a hand, right? So I'm actually so with him on that. I would say, like with me, is kind of what we talked about before. Is like when you're so choter that you want to be involved in every little thing, and you can't be, then you get frustrated.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to live with that frustration and accept the fact, like, I'm not in Gaza doing the mission that I could have been doing, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think that the whole system only works because of chotrim, like because like individuals who give it their maximum, and like they. Sometimes I think that's the whole system is just built up of a bunch of individuals trying their hardest.
It's a combination of that and knowing where your boundaries are. Like, right? Like, your job is to do this. Don't do somebody else's job. You will get killed.
Totally.
Right? Like,
you have to hope that people have those boundaries.
Yeah.
It's Rena Machad or my brother's Magad. Like, the little brother, he's in Sadir.
Yeah.
You want to hope that his Magad is like making the right decision. He said that they almost had a mission to like literally go like put up an Israeli flag somewhere. And it's like, dude, that's not a life or death mission right
Yeah.
now in Rafia.
Yeah.
But like, you want to hope that these individuals that are making these decisions are doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, like we can only control what we're,
Yeah.
you know, I'm such a small part of this bigger system that for me to start questioning, like, why did the Magad do this and Mahat do this? Like, I can't go there.
No, for sure. You go down a rabbit hole.
It's terrible.
Depressed, yeah.
Right. So you just
I
say
agree,
to
yeah.
yourself, like, I have my role. What is my role? Be the best at my job and do it the best I can and be ready if I'm never called. You know,
It
that's
requires
it.
a lot of faith.
You don't have a choice. What other option do you have? Like, what other option do you have? Start like going into the Mefagdim's room in the middle of the briefing and be like, no, do it this way.
No, you're so right. You have to let go. It's like such a avoda to let go.
Accept your role in the war. And that's everybody needs to have that. Accept your role in the war and excel at it. I think that people are so focused on either expanding or shrinking or changing their role.
Yeah.
Accept your role. Figure out what your role is. Accept it, and then go for it 150%.
Yeah. Oh, and just Dude,
It's like that for Americans too. It's like they're so like worried. Like maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I should be doing this. Accept what you bring to the table. Bring it to the table and do it 150%.
That's how. Yeah, it's that classic like duality, even in self growth, like between acceptance and wanting to change.
Striving, right?
Yes.
Right.
Hard.
So
That's interesting that you brought that to the army. I think you're right.
I'm finding that balance a
Like
little bit.
do your 1,000,000% and like go and do everything you can, but also accept what you can.
In
That's
your
hard.
role. Yeah, it's hard.
It's really
Especially because that's also not the Israeli mentality. The Israeli mentality is like, I need to ship any type of this, you
And
know?
sometimes I think that's the fuel of the army.
Right?
So like
So I'm not
You
that
use
way.
that
It's just
fuel.
not my personality, right?
Right.
Like my personality is not to start like questioning the system and doing it. I did do that like with Judaism, where it's like questioning the
Interesting.
system and religion and stuff like that.
okay.
But I don't know. There's something about the army I feel less comfortable. Like I understand it less. There's something there that I don't know, and so it's
So if we only felt that about God,
is
then
that interesting? Is that interesting?
yeah. Well, where does God come to play for you?
Oh wow, that's a whole chapter right there.
Yeah.
Definitely like the first few weeks after October 7th was like, okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to like daven like everything's normal. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
A lot of Emunah questions, a lot of questions of, you know, the people who we saw in Kfaraz were good people, and the people who were taken out of Khan Yunis are good people, and people are most in all good people. And like, I grew up always hearing that good people get nisim, like they get saved.
Totally.
Yeah, they do good person does good thing and gets saved over and over and over again.
Totally.
Like nobody told you like, you know, good people do good things and then also have tragedies. And on October 7th, we saw miracles and we saw tragedies, like anti-miracles almost, like people in the wrong place at the wrong time, good people.
Yeah.
And so my little like, this is one of my missions that I talk about, like one of my missions, develop a relationship with Hashem that's there, that he's there with you on the shittiest times, excuse my language, on the worst times and in the best times, meaning there's going to be a day where you're tefillah, you know, you're going to see a miracle and you're going to want to thank Hashem for it. There's going to be a day where you're going to see tragedy and the miracle is not going to happen. You're going to want Hashem with you there too on that day. And so my little suggestion is like, develop that relationship. Communicate with Hashem, talk to Hashem, you know, but I always say you don't have to be a Breslover to speak to Hashem, you know, you don't have to be in the forest to speak to Hashem. That's a message I gave to kids across America. And I don't think any rabbi has ever told them, like, you know, like not in tefillah, not in candlelighting, not in any ritual, like you can talk to Hashem on a daily basis.
Yeah, like God's a resource for you. He's there.
Exactly. He's there if you make it happen.
Yeah. I relate to like, I felt like the tools and the paradigms I was taught about God, like didn't feel relevant once it all happened. Like, it's like, I was not prepared. Was not prepared for this.
I call it like the structure of Emunah, like wasn't built strong enough.
Yeah.
Wasn't built strong enough.
with this and with something like this in mind.
No, it was only built to tell us like good things happen when you do good.
Yeah. It was built to tell us like, strive, push, do more mitzvahs. Like it's about your personal growth. I don't know.
Yeah. And we're all going to have those moments, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to deal with deaths in a family, God forbid, or sicknesses. And we all have to like be ready for those days. And so our job now is to like, what I've been feeling is like, try and explain to people there's a way to prepare for that day.
Yeah.
I think that's the general take that I take from all this, is that we're all going to be called up again for whatever, for emotional difficulties or relationship difficulties or family difficulties or health difficulties or emunah difficulties. And it's like your time to start working on it so that you're ready for when that day happens.
Yeah.
It is now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's like, be the best you can, because you never know where you're going to need it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what I'm taking from this whole experience.
Yeah.
And those are my green stickers, those are like the,
Yeah. Did he also make you do like, first we gave names to the chapters. We came up with names. Did you do
Okay.
that also?
yeah, a little bit.
And then we decided where to put the red. and
Yeah,
green.
something
we
like
did
that.
the same thing.
That was great.
Everyone was putting greens on like when we were doing the most like work, the most fulfilling team work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the reds were at the slowest times.
Yeah. Yeah. The reds were hard. The reds in the beginning also. What's the best thing like someone who's visiting an army base can do? What's like been a good time, like where you felt good support?
Right after like the first or second week, we went to a Shuli Round. It was like a restaurant concert, like a private. It was like restaurant. We were sitting in a restaurant eating the best food, and Shuli Round was just singing his like songs, and a lot of his songs are Ayeka and like Emunah driven, and it was just like, I think that was powerful. You know what I mean? I think that there's a time and a place for like the clubbing, like to be honest, like we don't need that.
Yeah.
We're 9 months into this war. We don't need a party every night. And nobody's coming down a kumsitz for us, right?
Yeah.
That would be like, I think that would be powerful. It's really around, but that was like close to it. It was like a kumsitz.
Yeah, special.
It's difficult because you have all different types of religious levels here, right, in the army. And so you can't get super like Farbrengen, hardcore. But Shuli Round is like, for example, a perfect mix where like secular people get him and religious people. So that was really cool. But the army base, the army visits are sweet. They're nice. I tell everybody, go take care of the kids. We're a piece of steak at this point. We're a piece of steak at this point.
Yeah. You said you're getting out tomorrow.
Just like an after going home.
What's your seventh right now? We're doing Shavua.
Something like that.
Okay.
It's gonna change because who knows?
That's so much unpredictability.
Who knows?
It seems like you're really letting yourself be mitbatel to the.
Have to.
Yeah.
I have to. I have a big problem is that like my work, I can't just like show up the day before for a tour. I have to tell them 2 weeks in advance, a week in advance, this is happening or it's not. And if it's not happening, I got to get another guy.
It's really hard.
So it's complicated because Americans want to know, like, are we getting a tour together or not? And I'm like, I can't tell you whether next Tuesday is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
I tell you, I canceled a lot of trips that the army ended up saying, oh, we don't need you. And I lost out on a lot of money because of that.
Yeah.
So I've just been,
You're not Tzma'i, essentially.
I'm not Tzma'i 100%.
How's that been? That's a challenge.
That's kind of what I'm talking about here, which is like every time I cancel a trip, I lose out.
Out of your pocket, yeah.
I lose out. And
and
I'm canceling a trip based on what my commander is telling me. And that changes every 2 seconds.
Wow. And yet you still keep coming. And you're not sitting
I have
off the system.
I have to, yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
No,
People are asking me about tours in June 2025.
And you
I'm
probably
like,
have to say, I don't know.
I remember when I'm doing tomorrow. You think I know what's going to be in June 2025? So that mindset, I think, like for Americans, is really important. You have to learn to live with a certain level of flexibility. If you're coming to Israel and everybody's asking me, is it safe? I don't want to blare. I don't want explosion sound. Feels totally normal, right?
Yeah.
The streets are totally normal. Feels safe, but you also have to be okay with like things can change. Things are dynamic. Your tour guide might cancel on you. The Makorad might be closed because the guy went up to me like,
Totally.
you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
That was a whole country of like people serving. insane.
אנחנו של גיבורי right?
That song a lot.
I love it. It's nuts.
meant a lot to me.
It's so deep. Like you have like, storekeepers that are fighting on the front line. We didn't grow up like that.
Mamash.
We have a celebrity who is a celebrity. Can you imagine if like Ashton Kutcher went and fought in Afghanistan and like lost a leg? You know what I mean? Like
No,
we had a celebrity go and fight on the front lines and get
till his face
injured.
went
It's
off.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right. It's like it's a powerful thing. Do you think that the country and the people are doing a good job of appreciating the Midway, these storefront owners? I get a lot of like, thank you for your service. I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah. I don't like shmor al etzmecha.
Okay.
I don't like, it's like, what do you want me to do with that?
Yeah, like what am I
You
supposed to
think
do?
I'm going into Gaza and be like, you know what? I'm going to respect that because that guy, the best told me to.
Yeah, it's
I
really
don't know.
my control whether or not
I
someone
don't
wants to
really
shoot
get
me.
it. You want to say like, you should, be matzliach, we should be menetzach. I love that. Shmor al etzmecha doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that, for example, I went to Ofakim today. I went to the gym. It was free because I'm a soldier.
Cool.
We're 9 months into this. That gym chain, I think it's a chain in Israel, has to be losing money on all these people coming and using their gym for free.
Yeah.
But like, okay, soldiers need to use the gym.
Yeah.
We're going to use the gym. So I do still feel it.
Still feel the love.
I do still feel it. I absolutely do still feel it. It's going to be not the same as it was day one, day two.
Totally.
It's waning, but
Yeah. What's been meaningful for you even the past few weeks, past day? What keeps you going? What breaks you down?
what keeps me going is just knowing that I have a word, that I have a voice, and that people are listening to that voice. And it's really special for me. I've never had this stage in my life.
Wow.
This is such a large stage in my life, and I don't know anything about Instagram. I don't know anything about social media. I have no idea what I'm doing, but people like it. So I'm just continuing to do it. And so just having people don't realize that the videos that I'm doing are not just for them, right? They're for me. Like they're for me to really, to get a lot of meaning from everything that I'm doing and to give that out. So everybody find their voice, everybody find their tafkid, I always tell the story in Khan Yunis, on the way out, and there's this guy making schnitzels.
Oh,
There was a schnitzeloni maker in the middle of Gaza. I was like,
wait, at the Malak?
I don't remember where it was.
Okay.
All I know is that we're eating fresh,
Oh
deep
my
fried
God.
schnitzels and French fries in the middle of Gaza right
What a
after
treat.
a mission. It's like, this guy figured out what his, mission is, what his tafkid is. Like,
So important.
if Schnitzel guy can do it, if the barbers can do it, then everybody can do it.
Oh,
And
man.
that's what I've been walking around with for the past 2 months, just telling everybody, find your mission, find your
It
tafkid.
comes off, dude. You're killing it. It really comes off. And like, man,
Thank you.
Achie. I'm not just saying it. Since day one, I was
It's
like,
been crazy.
when I saw you also on the 7th, it lifted me up in your kind. So really, thank you for me.
Yeah.
Talk more about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do chapter 2, chapter 3. Good luck on everybody. Good luck on the podcast. You make me jealous. Maybe I should do a podcast.
מתייאש מעולם שנבהל לי.
So that was my conversation with Arky. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you gained some comfort, some understanding. And I hope you join us again soon as we talk to more Chayalim about their experiences and their hopes, their fears, their feelings, their struggles. Feel free to reach out. My info is in the description.
אם אני מאמין בהשם, אני מאמין בעצמי, אני מאמין
The music was provided by Chaverim Mishar Yafo, a wonderful band. Give them a listen on Spotify, follow them on Instagram, and join us again soon.
אם אני מאמין בעצמי, אני לא מוותר על החיים. אם אני מאמין בעצמי, אני לא מתחרט על הלב שלי.